Welcome to our house on a cloudy and blustery day in Naples, Florida. But we're here on this cold day to bring some holiday cheer, to warm your heart with some inspiring and encouraging food for the soul. Now, Christmas should be a season of joy and hope. For unto us a Savior is born. But for far too many folks, it's a time of sadness, a reminder that all is not well with their souls or lives. In this season that was tailor-made for family togetherness, 8 million children will go to bed in America tonight without a father in the home. Other children will be subject to all manner of abuse by their fathers or their mothers. Tonight, widows and widowers will climb into their beds alone, hugging their tear-stained pillows instead of that departed loved one. For them, this holiday season is unspeakably lonely. Parents will be grieving for children who have died, or children who are wayward, or kids from whom they are estranged. Divorced people will be alone tonight, feeling regret for the marriages, for the families that they have let slip away. Tonight, millions of homeless people will climb into makeshift sleeping places, while they dream of homes and families that have slipped from their grasp. Soldiers will be dreaming of being home for Christmas as they hunker down in faraway corners of this troubled earth. And refugees at our borders around the world will be hoping that maybe next Christmas they will have a home to call their own. That first Christmas, God burst into this world to identify with the lost, the lonely, and the least among us. A king, far away from his throne room in heaven, born in a stable for barnyard animals, no room for him in the inn, wrapped in rags, laid in a cow's feeding trough. He came to an unwed teenage mother named Mary, a blue-collar hillbilly carpenter who went by the name of Old Joe, a ragtag collection of outcast shepherds. And on that cold, starry winter's night, that shivering baby identified with every outcast, every homeless person, every alienated person, every poverty-stricken person in the world. God in the flesh understood what every refugee on the other side of the fence feels like today. And maybe today you feel unloved, lonely, alienated. Somehow the joy of Christmas has become a cruel joke to you. I'd like to bring you some hope and encouragement with a true story that I've written in my one-year book of amazing stories. It's a true story from my own life. I call it Wanda and Lucille's House. Mother and daughter looked more like twin sisters. Both were grossly overweight, and together they couldn't have possessed more than 8 teeth. Their round faces were caked in heavy makeup beneath neon orange hair. Cheap perfume barely masked body odor that oozed through cast-off dresses and gaudy costume jewelry. Both had spent far too many nights in jailhouses and Skid Row missions. As these ex-alcoholics lugged garbage bags full of their meager possessions past our church, Wanda and Lucille decided that it would be as good a place as any to get religion again. Now, their presence embarrassed me, especially when our paths crossed in public. They would waddle up, throw their pudgy arms around me, and in front of God and witnesses loudly proclaim, "He's our pastor!" One night, after repeatedly turning down their invitations, I reluctantly went to their little rundown shack of a house for dinner. They sat me on a wooden crate at a card table, surrounded by a collection of stray cats and decor rescued from a junk heap. We ate fast food fried chicken, fruit cocktail straight out of a can, Wonder Bread served on worn plastic plates. Now, I've eaten in the finest restaurants, the biggest mansions in the world, but I was never treated more like royalty than by Wanda and Lucille that night. Later, that little shack became a house of evangelism. Almost weekly, Wanda and Lucille would phone me to come and share the gospel of Jesus with bikers covered in tattoos, homeless drifters, runaway teens, many high on drugs or reeking of booze. In 5 years, I led more people to Jesus in their place on the poor side of Tulsa than any other place in my life. Whenever I announced from the pulpit that someone needed a place to stay, Wanda and Lucille always bulldozed over other parishioners to be the first to offer their rundown little home next to the railroad tracks. I somehow managed to find a tactful way to turn them down, embarrassed at the thought that anyone would stay at their 3-room shack by the railroad. One day, my 2 friends set out on an odyssey to find their lost children. I can still see their round faces pressed against the rear window of a Greyhound bus as they waved goodbye. They mouthed their final goodbyes through toothless grins, my last visual memory of Wanda and Lucille. They called me later from Denver, and then I lost track of them. Almost 30 years later, I'm ashamed that I didn't let Wanda and Lucille host any of our guests. I regret that I was mortified to be seen with them in public, or embarrassed that they were part of our church. I think had Jesus come to Tulsa, Wanda and Lucille would have bullied their way past everyone to be the first to host him. And I'm ashamed to say I probably would have found a polite way to steer Jesus toward a more impressive home. But I think Jesus would have said, "No thanks. I want to stay at Wanda and Lucille's place." They washed my feet with tears of gratitude and wiped them dry with their hair. And by the way, I've already been to that house 1,000 times before. I slipped in with every down and outer they ever invited into their shack. The amazing story of Wanda and Lucille. It's a reminder that there was no room for Jesus in the inn. As a result, he was born among barnyard beasts to an unwed teenage mother so that he could be crucified between 2 criminals. Surely none of us can be so far gone that he won't come to our home, our heart. Now, we may regret what's happened to our lives this Christmas. We may be lonely and alienated, but he loves us too much to stay away, even if the whole world tries to shut us out. Next week, we'll be spending our week with the family, so there won't be any Amazing Stories Unwrapped Facebook Live program on Tuesday or Thursday. So this is our opportunity, Joyce and mine, to wish you and yours a Merry Christmas, to wish you and yours a Happy New Year. And I know that maybe for some of you today, it's almost hollow to hear those words. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holiday. But I want to encourage you today. I want to encourage you that God understands and feels what you're feeling. Even though it seems like your family may have shut you out, or you may feel so lonely right now, or being in a place where you don't want to be, in a situation you don't want to be in, maybe not even possessing enough financial means to even give to somebody else. But you know, Jesus has come. God gave the best gift he could ever give to anyone when he gave his son to you. If you just open your door, he'll come in. If you open your heart, he'll come in. And he will never leave or forsake you. I promise you. People in this world will. They'll be disappointed in us. We'll be disappointed in them. They'll walk away from us. We may walk away from them. We may end up somewhere other than a home that we wish we could be in. But he always has room for us in his heart. Before he left this earth, he said, "In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, I wouldn't have told you. I go to prepare a place for you." And he's preparing a place for you right now, because he loved you before he ever put the first star in space. He hasn't stopped loving you since. He loved you when you came to this earth to identify with people that are really hurting today and in every age. He loved you when he hung on a cross. He loved you when he rose from the dead. He loved you when you ascended to heaven. And he's going to love you when he comes back. He's never stopped loving you. And Joyce and I love you today. We hope the best for you. We hope that this Christmas will begin to look up for you. Be the best Christmas you ever had. And we hope that next year will be the best year you ever experienced in your life. Remember this: God is writing your story, even the bad chapters. And sometimes it's the worst chapters that produce the most triumphant and happy endings in a story. And I will guarantee you this, the best lines, the best chapters of your story are still waiting to be written, because the God who loves you has not only written the greatest story ever told, the story we celebrate at Christmas, but he's writing your story too. And your and my story is the second greatest story ever told. God bless. Have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas.